Simply economics, big ideas made small. Everyday money talk for any mind at all. Simply economics, learn fast, feel smart. One quick listen and you're ready to start.
If you opened your phone at any point today, you probably didn't realize that you were willingly walking into a highly advanced behavioral psychology lab.
Yeah, we really don't think about it that way, do we?
No, not at all. But I mean, every single time you swipe or, pause on a video or click a seemingly harmless notification, there is a supercomputer on the other side of the world silently updating a mathematical model of your brain.
It's kind of wild. We think we're just catching up on the news or like seeing what our friends are up to.
Right. But we are actually participating in this massive, globally scaled experiment in human behavior.
Exactly. I mean, it is the defining invisible architecture of modern life at this point. We rarely even register the decision to reach for the device anymore.
It's totally automatic.
Yeah, it entirely bypasses our conscious thought. One moment you're just sitting at your desk, and the next you're somehow like 3 screens deep into a feed without any memory of even making the choice to unlock your phone.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because we usually just brush that reflex off, right?
For sure.
We tell ourselves, oh, I'm just a little bored, or I just want to see if I got an email. But today, we are taking a deep dive into a set of research notes that just completely shatters that innocent little explanation.
It really does.
Yeah. So the source material we have today is this concise, incredibly revealing set of notes titled, Why Do Students Spend So Much Time on Social Media? And the mission of this deep dive is to look at the underlying machinery of these digital habits by really just smashing 2 huge fields together: economics and psychology.
Right. It's the ultimate crossover, honestly.
Yeah.
Because the applications that you interact with every single day, they're not communication tools. I mean, they look like it, but they are meticulously engineered profit engines.
Which is such a shift in perspective.
It is. To really understand them, you have to stop looking at them as software and start looking at them as, well, resource extraction mechanisms.
Okay, that is a bold way to frame it, but honestly, the notes back you up completely. They start entirely on the economic side, kind of laying down this foundational rule, which is more user attention equals more advertising revenue.
Simple as that.
Right. The whole business model relies on the fact that social media companies earn money from advertisements, and they just need you looking at the screen to serve those ads. But I actually have to push back on this just a little bit.
Oh, let's hear it.
Because this whole attention economy concept, it feels like it's often presented as this terrifying new digital invention. But I grew up on 90s television.
Oh, yeah.
I sat there for hours on Saturday mornings watching cartoons, and there were commercials every, 8 minutes?
Yep.
Advertisers paid for my attention back then, too. I mean, Saturday morning cartoons were literally invented to sell sugary cereal to kids.
That's true.
So how is an app any different than me just zoning out in front of the TV in 1995? Are we actually paying for these free services with our time in some new way?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the fundamental difference is the shift from a passive broadcast to an active personalized extraction.
Okay, active extraction. What does that mean?
Well, when you watch those Saturday morning cartoons, the network broadcasts the exact same cereal commercial to millions of kids simultaneously.
Right. Same ad for everyone.
Yeah, they were guessing at a demographic.
Yeah.
But the digital attention economy, it doesn't just want your eyeballs to show you some generic ad. They want your attention so they can harvest what economists call behavioral surplus.
Behavioral surplus.
Yeah.
Okay. So they aren't just selling my attention in the present moment. They are tracking, how long I linger on a post.
Exactly.
What time of day I'm most likely to click, who I interact with to build this predictive model.
You got it. They're turning human predictability into the actual product that is sold to advertisers.
Wow.
Yeah, you're touching on the core mechanism there. Every single second you spend on the platform generates data that makes the algorithm's prediction of your future behavior slightly more accurate.
That is wild.
It is. And this is why human attention in the digital age is treated as a highly valuable, finite economic resource. It's the raw material required to build those models.
Because there's only so much attention to go around.
Right. Think about the physical constraints.
Yeah.
You only have 24 hours in a day. You have to sleep. You have to work, eat. The amount of discretionary time you have to actually look at a screen has a hard biological cap.
So because that time is scarce, the platforms are locked in a zero-sum competition.
Absolutely.
Like if human attention is the commodity, then every minute I spend scrolling on one app is a minute I am fundamentally not generating ad revenue or behavioral data for a competing app.
The competition is existential for them. I mean, a minute spent on a rival platform isn't just a missed opportunity. It is a direct threat to the platform's market share and their quarterly earnings.
Because they need you online.
Right. They aren't trying to build a good product in the traditional sense, like a tool that you use and then put away.
Yeah, like a hammer.
Exactly. They are operating under a mandate to monopolize the absolute maximum percentage of your waking hours. If they fail to capture and hold your attention, their entire economic model collapses.
So if human attention is their oil, they need the best possible drill to extract it.
That's a great way to put it.
And based on the second half of these research notes, that drill isn't just clever coding, it's human biology. Like, the platforms rely heavily on our brain chemistry to fulfill that economic mandate.
Yeah, the psychology side of the equation is where the engineering gets truly sophisticated. Because software alone can't force you to stay awake until 2 in the morning.
Right.
To do that, designers have to tap into the foundational reward systems of the brain. The notes explicitly highlight dopamine rewards and notifications.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because we hear dopamine thrown around so casually in pop culture right now.
Oh, all the time.
People say they need a dopamine hit, like it's a piece of candy or something. But my understanding from this research is that dopamine isn't actually the happiness chemical.
No, it's not.
It doesn't flood your brain when you get a reward. It floods your brain when you are anticipating a reward. It's like the neurochemical of seeking.
That distinction is so crucial. From an evolutionary perspective, dopamine originated to keep our ancestors alive.
Okay, how so?
Well, if you were a hunter-gatherer, dopamine is the chemical that motivated you to keep walking miles and miles to forage for berries or track prey. It creates this highly motivating sensation of craving.
Like a drive.
Exactly. It's the brain's internal alarm system shouting, pay attention to this, something potentially vital to your survival is about to happen.
Which brings us to the specific focus of the research notes, which is students. The question is why students spend so much time on these platforms. And the biology actually explains this perfectly.
It really does.
Because in a teenager or a young adult, the brain is still undergoing massive construction. The prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for long-term planning, impulse control, the rational voice that says, you have a midterm tomorrow, put the phone down, that isn't fully developed until you are in your mid-20s.
Right.
But the amygdala, the emotional and reward-seeking center, that is fully online and running hot.
Yeah, the developmental timing creates the perfect storm. Students are essentially operating with a highly sensitive accelerator pedal for reward-seeking behavior, and a brake pedal that is only half installed.
Wow.
So they're biologically defenseless against the specific psychological tools these apps deploy.
So let's talk about those specific tools, because I was looking at the way platforms use variable ratio schedules of reinforcement.
Oh yeah, this is a big one.
It's the exact same psychological mechanism used in casino slot machines, right? You pull the lever, and you don't know if you're going to lose, win a little, or hit the jackpot. The uncertainty is what spikes the dopamine. On a phone, the lever is the pull to refresh feature.
Yeah, and the resemblance to a slot machine isn't accidental. It is deliberate architectural mimicry. When you drag your thumb down the screen to refresh a feed, there is a tiny programmed delay.
Wait, programmed? It's on purpose.
Oh, absolutely. That spinning wheel isn't there because the system takes that long to load data. The supercomputers we mentioned earlier, they can populate a feed in milliseconds.
Right.
That delay is engineered to let the dopamine spike peak. You're waiting to see what the reward is. Is it a mundane update from a relative, or is it a viral video that makes you laugh?
The unpredictability is the hook.
Yeah.
If every time I refreshed my feed I saw something mildly interesting, I would eventually just get bored and put it down.
Right. The novelty wears off.
But because I might see something totally mind-blowing on the 7th swipe, my brain just demands that I keep swiping. It's like weaponized unpredictability.
That's exactly what it is.
And it doesn't stop with the swiping. The notes mention the design of notifications, which act as the external triggers to start the whole loop all over again.
Yeah, consider the amount of A/B testing that goes into a single notification.
Mm-hmm.
Like the color red is not a universal default for software.
Right, it's a choice.
Those little notification badges are red because behavioral psychologists know that red is an evolutionary trigger color for urgency and danger.
Oh, wow.
It bypasses our rational filtering and demands immediate cognitive processing. Companies will test 40 different shades of red, measuring user reaction times down to the millisecond, just to find the specific hue that generates the highest click-through rate.
That is, I mean, that's almost scary. So when a student, or really anyone listening to this right now, feels that phantom vibration in their pocket, or gets an overwhelming, almost itchy urge to check their phone during a quiet moment, that's not just a lack of personal discipline.
What's fascinating here is, no, it's not. That is a highly successful extraction mechanism working exactly as intended.
Wow.
You are pitting your baseline willpower against thousands of engineers and behavioral scientists whose sole professional objective is to hack your brain's evolutionary hardware.
It is a profoundly asymmetrical conflict.
Very much so. And once they use those psychological hooks to secure your attention, they utilize frictionless design to ensure you never leave. Like, think about the infinite scroll.
Right.
Historically, media had natural stopping cues. A newspaper had an end of the page. A television show had credits. A book has chapters.
But infinite scroll completely obliterates the stopping cue.
Exactly.
Your brain never gets the signal that the experience is over.
Yeah.
You never have to make the conscious decision to click next page, which means you never have the opportunity to make the conscious decision to stop.
Yeah, and without that friction, the user enters a state of flow, or what some researchers call the ludic loop.
The ludic loop.
Right. You are so deeply embedded in the cycle of anticipating a reward, receiving a micro reward, and instantly anticipating the next one that hours can just evaporate.
And remember the economic foundation we discussed earlier?
Yep.
Every one of those evaporating hours is being instantly converted into advertising revenue and behavioral surplus.
Exactly. It all ties back together.
So what does this all mean? Which brings us to the ultimate synthesis of these two fields. You mash up the ruthless economic need to hold attention with the ability to completely hijack human brain chemistry.
Right.
And the notes point out that this doesn't just result in us looking at more screens, it actually changes our real-world choices. The text explicitly mentions how the system influences consumer behavior and online spending. This feels like the grand finale of the entire operation.
It really is. It is the ultimate conversion of psychological manipulation into financial capital.
Yeah.
The dopamine loops and the extended screen time are not just holding your attention passively, they are actively molding your psychological state to make you a more compliant consumer.
I want to build on that casino analogy from earlier because it illustrates this perfectly. Casinos aren't just slot machines. The entire architecture of the building is weaponized.
Oh, completely.
There are no clocks on the walls. There are no windows to let you see the sun go down. The carpets have these dizzying patterns to keep you looking up at the games. They pump oxygen into the room.
Yeah, it's all designed.
All of this is designed to eliminate stopping cues and keep you in a heightened state of dopamine-driven anticipation. Because the casino owners know that if they keep you in that specific, vulnerable psychological state long enough, you are going to wander over to the expensive restaurants or the luxury shops they intentionally place near the exits.
Right.
And you are going to spend your actual money.
The parallel to digital platforms is almost exact. When you are deep in an infinite scroll, your brain is continuously bathed in dopamine. You are experiencing a rapid succession of micro-emotions, amusement, outrage, validation, and a profound fear of missing out.
All in the span of like 2 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this volatility makes you highly suggestible.
Yeah.
You are no longer evaluating information rationally, you're reacting emotionally.
Because the algorithm has been harvesting that behavioral surplus we talked about.
Yes.
It knows exactly what micro-interactions trigger my specific vulnerabilities. Like, it knows I lingered on a video about running shoes for 3.2 seconds longer than a video about cooking.
Right.
So it waits until I am 2 hours deep into a feed, my prefrontal cortex is exhausted, my dopamine is spiking from a variable reward, and boom, it drops a seamlessly integrated advertisement for those exact running shoes into the feed.
And it does so by presenting the ad native to the platform.
Right.
It doesn't look like a billboard. It looks like a piece of organic content.
Right, it blends
It
in.
blends right into the casino floor.
Yeah.
By holding your attention and manipulating your baseline emotional state, the platforms create the absolute perfect environment to influence what you buy and how you consume. They aren't merely observing the market. They are actively creating the psychological conditions that guarantee the market behaves exactly the way their advertisers are paying for it to behave.
This forces a really uncomfortable realization about how we view our own choices.
It really does.
Because when you or I click buy on a product we saw on our feed, The conscious narrative we tell ourselves is one of total autonomy. We think, I saw those shoes, I decide I like them, I have the money, so I made the choice to purchase them. It feels like an act of complete free will.
This raises an important question, though, because the architecture of this system requires you to feel that way. If the manipulation were overt, it would trigger your psychological defenses.
Right, you put your guard up.
Exactly. But the reality, according to the mechanics outlined in these research notes, is that your decision to buy those shoes was merely the final, highly probable outcome of an engineered process. Your attention was captured. Your impulse control was bypassed by variable rewards. Your emotional state was calibrated by the algorithm, and the product was placed in front of you at the precise mathematical moment you were most likely to convert.
It is a perfectly closed loop.
Yep.
The psychological manipulation ensures that the economic incentives are met. And the massive economic profits fund the research and development to make the psychological manipulation even more effective for the next quarter.
It is an elegant, highly disturbing cycle. We started by looking at a simple question from the source material regarding why students spend so much time on these apps. And I think the answer is clearly not a sudden generational failure of time management.
Not at all. So to synthesize all of this for everyone listening, the core takeaway from today's sources is that social media platforms are not neutral communication tools.
Definitely not.
They are attention economies that use sophisticated, biologically rooted psychological reward systems to maximize user engagement. They exploit evolutionary mechanisms like dopamine anticipation, completely bypassing our rational decision-making because your focus is a finite economic resource.
Well said.
And by maximizing your screen time, they maximize their advertising profit and actively shape your real-world consumer behavior.
The machinery is vast, and it's mostly invisible by design.
Yeah.
But understanding the mechanisms, the pull to refresh slot machine, the behavioral surplus, the weaponization of unpredictability, it allows you to see the architecture for what it is.
Yeah.
And I think the themes of this research leave us with a vital, lingering question to consider.
Okay, what's that?
If human attention is the ultimate currency that fuels this entire global economic system, what is the actual exchange rate? How much is 1 hour of your unfragmented focus actually worth? And when you trade it for a quick engineered hit of dopamine from a buzzing phone who's really getting the better end of the deal?
Who is getting the better end of the deal? I highly doubt it is us. That is the exact question we all need to be holding on to. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this conversation gives you a little bit of armor the next time you feel that invisible string pulling your hand toward your pocket. The next time you see a red notification dot, take a breath, remember the behavioral lab you are standing in, and decide for